Thank goodness I had my cell phone to call Laurel.
Yeah. I'm surprised you got a hold of her because she was just leaving the driveway when I pulled in.
Was she? Okay, well, we had her come and she helped set it up.
Where's I?
But then we still had problems after she left, so.
Right.
Okay, then, we're good.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone? Okay. Okay, we just.
You're good, all right.
You want to move it, have
All
it-
right. We'll do the roll real quick.
Yoder,
Here.
Noonan, Black,
Yes.
Hubble, is absent, Lautner,
Present?
Carlson,
Present.
Miller, Nixon,
Present.
Todd,
Present.
Griswold,
Present.
and Hubble is absent.
All right, and more? Excellent. All right, next up, we have the consideration of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I had one addition.
All right, we Trudy had something she wanted to add to the agenda under new business.
Yeah, it's the support letter for grant, if we could add it as item number 3.
All right. Under C, support letter for grant.
So I would make a motion to approve the agenda with the one addition.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, motion's been made, by Commissioner Lauer, supported by Mr. Black. Any discussion? All right, not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next up, we have conflict of interest. Is there anybody on the commission here that has a conflict of interest with items on the agenda?
This is Nate Griswold. The main item with the cidery, I consulted with them years ago, back in 2013. I haven't been involved since then, but I definitely helped them with some conceptual level site planning there. So I'm not sure if that's a conflict or not.
I would say not.
Not years ago.
Yeah.
All right, I think the majority of the commission feels like it's not a conflict, so I think you're good.
Okay.
All right, any other conflicts or
We
interests?
can't see it, that's the problem. This is what happens when you noise people.
All right, if not, we'll move on to public comment. For those wishing to make public comment, the number is 231-256-8109, and we'll just give it a quick 30 seconds to see if anybody calls in for public comment.
Thanks.
All right, doesn't sound like we got public comment or anybody calling in, so we'll move on. Next up is staff comments. Staff comments?
This is a quick comment for you. We reported previously that we didn't have any proposals from the CIP. And then I was contacted the other day from Parks and Rec, and they may have some stuff coming to us. So I gave him the document and I said, it was sent out before, but, you know, got a little time here, so try to get it to me within the next 2 weeks so we can get on your next meeting.
Okay.
And I think we're still in fine shape because the county board has not started their budget process yet. And we'd like to get that to them somewhere in the beginning part so that they can see what's in the CIP and what might be coming up.
Perfect. That it?
Yes.
All right. Next up.
We lost you guys, if you can hear us.
Yes, we lost your audio.
You have,
Can't hear.
now they've disappeared.
How do we tell them that you lost audio? I should have written it somehow.
They've broken their. Yeah.
What does this say? No, I have to write it backwards.
I see it.
They're totally off there, Kim. They're not even on here anymore.
Oh. We did so well in other meetings.
Yeah,
I mean, if anybody has good internet, they should have it. We have like okay internet, but it's not great, but I can sustain this.
are you on Charter?
No, we're on Johnson Road. So we're outside of Northport, but we're not in the village. We're in that unincorporated part that no one cares about. Charter's not available. So we're a cobbled up combination of an AT&T hotspot that I got really cheap a long time ago and got grandfathered in, but that's not enough. So now, and we also have the AT&T wireless,
Okay, okay.
which is getting worse, actually. It started out with oodles of data and a reasonable price, but the problem is the system gets clogged
Yeah,
because they oversold it like they do everything else. We've had satellites, we've had this, we've had that. It's a terrible situation.
it
Do you
is.
have Charter? And it's
Yeah.
adequate?
Yes, it's almost been flawless for us, but
No,
it's a shame, you know, in this day and age where there's areas like yours and worse even in our
Oh,
county.
no, much worse.
Yeah,
Up on Perkins Road by the state park,
Mhm.
I know some people can't get anything for love or money.
really.
And Nate, is your internet good?
I have Viastat and I have to pay unlimited. It's $175 a month for my business.
Well,
We had that for a while. Did it start out as Exceed?
there we go.
Oh, we're
No,
back.
I've only had Viastat.
We don't know what happened. You guys just were cut off.
Stay with us, guys.
You guys
We
were
were all together, but not with you.
you disappeared.
They had their own meeting again.
All of a sudden, it's disappeared again. All right. We'll move back to the meeting on where you guys dropped off, but we had a motion on the table to move on with the motion and a second to move on with the April 27th, 2021 meeting minutes, and I just asked for discussion. All right. And if not, all those in favor of the April 27th, 2021 meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, next up, we have new business with the conditional rezoning, Penske Snowbird and Leelanau Township. If staff can give their report on that.
Sure. Okay, this is a request that came in and it's for Snowbird and owned by Joseph Katinka. It was submitted to us as a conditional rezoning and you'll see as I go through our staff report that we have concerns about this particular request. The property is located in Leelanau Township on M22, so just south of where M204 is M22 by Duck Lake Corners. It's approximately 18 acres in size. And on the first page of this staff report, which would be page 7, I believe, of your agenda packet, list out the existing land use. The surrounding area is mainly low-density residential. And then to the south, there is Good Harbor Vineyards as well as the Jolly Lodge. But mainly single-family residential, some shrubland area and some wooded areas. Above this area, or excuse me, this part on the staff report, we've also noted that we received the site plan review application from the applicant. But the County Planning Commission is not required to review that in the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. So it's included, it was submitted, it's included for your reference, but we're not reviewing that site plan. We've been asked in the past to do informal reviews of site plans, and we have done those. So going on, zoning history, we know that Good Harbor Vineyards, again, is located south of the property. It's on the east side of M22, and according to their website, they opened in 1980, and they sell wine and hard ciders. Also in the zoning history, back in 2013, this county planning commission reviewed a staff report of amendments to Leelanau Township zoning ordinance. One of those was to modify section 18.25 wineries. The prior section 18.25 allowed the wineries as a use permitted by right in the Ag Conservation District as well as the Agricultural Residential District, which is where the subject property is at. You had to have a minimum of 10 acres, and then there was some other requirements needed as well. So in 2013, that was removed from the AR district. And then we went back into the minutes online starting from 2018 concerning the subject property and just found some history where Mr. Pasinka had come before the Township Planning Commission, was interested in doing something on this property here with cideries. It looked like at some point that he may have submitted or was going to submit an application to amend the ordinance, but that did not happen. And there was discussion about his plans. So it wasn't until 2019 really that this started to get moving. Mr. Pasinka, according to these minutes, was to pay an application for the zoning ordinance back in March of 2019 for $1,500. And then there's another motion again in September that they would set an escrow account at $1,500. So we don't know if those fees were paid twice and exactly what they're for, but evidently there was something set up that there would be some fees charged to the applicant. Then in February of 2021, Mr. Chris Grobel, represented the applicant, came before the Township Planning Commission and the public hearing and presented the application, which is included in the appendix. The Leland Township Master Plan, the future land use map, calls this area rural residential. The zoning map, according to April 8th, 2013 version that's online, calls this AR low density ag residential. And Leelanau General Plan does not specifically identify the subject property. The township held their public hearing April 7th. They had some members of the public there voicing concerns. Ultimately, they passed a motion to approve the conditional rezoning based on the conditions and all the required permits and so forth. And then that was sent on to the County Planning Commission for review. Going down under staff comments, we start out by giving just a couple brief definitions of what rezoning is. You are actually reclassifying property from one district to another district. And under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Section 125.3405, there is language for conditions to rezoning, and it states that the development of land is done as a condition to a rezoning of the land. And just want to stress that because that will come up again later. So in Michigan, it is legal to have conditional zoning. The owner voluntarily offers in writing conditions to the rezoning of the land, and the conditions must be proposed by the applicant, not the local unit of government. So Mr. Grobel presented in February Mr. Pasinka's request, and it was for the cidery, and he was advised to reapply for a condition of rezoning. So on March 3rd, he presented the request again, addressing the issues of concern that were raised in February, and then the public hearing was set for April 7th. So we get down into our notes, and I believe we're on page 12 of your agenda packet. We've noted this is an unusual request. It's similar to a conditional rezoning that was done in another township in Leelanau County a few years ago, where the property was not being rezoned to a new district. As part of preparing this staff report, we reached out to the county's corporate counsel, as well as two planners in the state, to to review this and the input and suggestions that were received by all three of.
We're gone again. Can you hear us? Nope.
It looks like they're frozen.
Yes. And I don't know, as you've been hearing their voices, it sound like it's water in their voices too? Are the voices clear to you?
It's bad. It's bad audio. No, they're not like, I've never had a meeting that we had like that. Now they're off again.
Yep. Yeah, I've never experienced
I
this.
wonder how long they'll take until they know that we're not here. They're.
Don't know
like they
how
took a while
significant
before.
we are very soon. Or insignificant.
Well, yeah, there's.
I don't know.
And they're really trying to deal with fewer people this time. So that's odd. You know, you would think that that the system is not being stressed.
Hey. We did. And we've noticed that all of the three of us have noticed that the voices are very garbled, even when we're on. They're like, we sound like you are drinking a lot of water and talking at the same time. So we just want to make sure that you knew we were disconnected. Oh,
Yeah.
no, looks like you're getting back on.
We're back on.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're back, and I've been instructed to talk faster, so you don't get cut off again.
You said you sound garbled, Trudy.
I sound garbled, Tom?
Yes.
That's a connection.
All right, so it's almost 5 to 6. We'll see if we get cut off again. All right, going on. Let's see where I was at. The third bullet, the applicant has not requested rezoning the property to a new district. Thus, there is no conditional rezoning. And there may be concerns that conditional rezoning could be considered as spot zoning. It is allowed, and therefore, when you do the conditional rezoning, you limit the uses or the development based on the conditions offered, so that offsets that worry about this being spot zoning. The application is asking for approval of a use allowed in the AC district, but it's not allowed in the AR district. So in essence, what they're doing is either asking for a use variance or creation of a special use prohibited in the current AR district, and we suggest that they do neither one of these. It would set a precedent for future requests. At the bottom of that page, we stated there's no reason.
There we go again.
Again.
It has to be their internet connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
I thought they had great internet there.
it's supposed to. I would suggest with all the problems you've
Not-
seen to have, Kim, you've got better connections than they do.
I've always been able to get on for this stuff.
Yeah.
My problems are more if we're streaming a movie, we sometimes have to switch some of our devices to the to the hotspot or something.
Mm,
You know, it's not that easy on,
but you've not
but it
had
comes and it
problems
goes.
with-
Yeah, weekends are tough, and so we keep switching back and forth.
Yeah. Wow.
But I was lucky enough to get the hotspot for like $22, and I
Gee.
bought it for maybe 50. So it's $22 a month. I bought the box for 50, and that's now in addition to the AT&T wireless. It's sort of my little extra.
Yeah, it sounds like it's worth
But
it.
AT&T, it was, but it's not available anymore. AT&T got smart.
Oh.
or got greedy and, it was, maybe
Yeah.
it was a come on, I don't know,
Hmm.
but I'll never get rid of it. Cheap
Mhm,
and good.
mhm.
And,
Okay,
okay, we're back.
yeah. Okay, all right, we're back. I'll see if we can just wrap this up and see if we can do something before we're done. Okay,
They should
thank
just
you.
try
This is
Such
the
an
last-
interesting request, though. I'm really torn on this one.
Thank you.
It's such a neat
Sorry.
idea and it's been.
Okay, can you guys hear me
Yes,
in Zoom?
Yes,
All right, let me just wrap this up by saying that we have pointed out quite a few concerns in the staff report. We're pointing out that we don't believe that the township followed proper procedure. And we're suggesting some options for them to consider. They can take it back to their township attorney and review this. The proper way to do this would be to back up a little bit, make sure they have a full application to conditional rezoning, make sure the applicant is offering conditions they can consider, not something that takes away the township's authority, such as zoning, and then proceed with the public hearing again. And I'll stop there.
All right. All right, we'll go to commissioner comments. Mr. Griswold, do you have anything to add to that?
I would agree, and I support the idea that they are granted this request.
All right, Mrs. Todd?
yes, actually, I was very interested into why the amendment was changed with the change in 2013, why the change was to take away the winery cideries as a matter of right in the AR. So I think that with that proviso that, if anybody knows, to make sure that those concerns then are not being impacted by this change now. I want to commend the staff for a really excellent report. It explains things clearly, step by step. But on page 13 of our documents, I do have an additional suggestion. It may just be included in that, and I'm not saying it. When the township considered 3 options for the applicant, or when our staff considered 3 options for the township to consider, paragraph 1 suggests they hold a public hearing if the applicant will submit the fully completed application for conditional zoning. Yes, but however, the other 2 options, either amending the zoning ordinance to include a process for conditional zoning or state they don't want it, and number 2, to amend the ordinance to allow for the winery cider use in the AR district. You all didn't add in the idea of a public hearing, and I think that's crucial because those are very large changes.
And
Finally,
that would be a requirement if
one more.
they go through either one of those steps, they would have to go through those public hearings.
That's what I figured, but it wasn't written. One more suggestion. I don't know if we can do this, but could we suggest to them that when amendments are made, either by footnote or in the body of the amendment itself, where there's changes like this, the rationale for the change is included so that we won't later be trying to figure out what it is.
All right, you got all that, Gail?
I think so.
All right, we'll make a note of that in the minutes. And then, Mr. Nixon, any comments on your end?
Just briefly, I would echo what Kim said. I think this is just an exemplary summary that staff has put together. I think it framed the issue clearly for us. And it did strike me that within there, they were attempting to use conditional rezoning for reusing. And I know in our experience in Suttons Bay Township, we were led to believe clearly as staff has presented here that conditional rezoning is for rezoning, not for use. And it seemed like they got very tied up in their discussions without that clear understanding. And I think, again, staff has made that point clear enough to them that they should be able to go back and start this process over again through the use of a public hearing and the procedures that you've outlined there. I'm very supportive of that.
All right, Ms. Carlson, any comments on your end?
I agree with what's been said by Tom and by Kim, and Steve. And I agree the summarization was very tight and clear as to what has happened. I also agree it needs to go back to a public hearing and start an application for rezoning rather than reuse.
All right, perfect. Commissioner Lawler?
Yeah, I have to agree. I found this a really interesting dilemma or project that they've got planned, and I do like it, but I know that's not what we're here to decide whether we like it or not. So if they can go through the steps and somehow with the township make it possible to get that rezoned and get this through, I think that's what they have to, and obviously there would have to be your public hearings that go along with that.
Mr. Black?
Well, I liked it it was concise and well done. The only comment I guess I would make is if and when it does go to the public hearing, that any negativity, they need to be able to support it as to why. So often good projects sometimes can get held up just by public comment. And for what reason usually. So I guess that's the only thing I would say. I hope that everything goes smooth from this point on.
All right. Awesome. And I just on my comments on that part, I obviously reviewed the whole thing, and I definitely concur with staff on their findings and obviously exemplary work they did on this. There's a lot of pages in there, work they did, and it's very well done. So I want to applaud them for just condensing that all and giving it to us. But I think there's some concerns in there with the procedure and the wording and stuff like that too. So I concur with staff on that. So. I need a motion on the table, or should I guess I'll step back a minute. Any other questions or concerns, I guess, before we move on to the motion here? All right, if not, I'll take a motion to forward this on to the township board.
So moved. I would move that the additional comments and the staff report be forwarded on to the township board.
Support.
All right, motion has been made by Mr. Nixon, supported by Commissioner Wellner to forward the conditional rezoning to the Leelanau Township Board. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, we'll move on to item number B, discussion on training session for fall 2021. Trudy?
Okay, I took your notes from last month on possible training sessions, and then I talked with Gail, and then I reached out to Mary Riley from MSU Extension. She's done some trainings here before for us, and the cost was very reasonable. She would just charge for her mileage from Manistee and back, which would be about $90. So she's not going to charge us to do the presentations, and that's really great. So 2 proposals I sent to her based on what you talked about last month, which was the solar energy systems. She said they've partnered with U of M to create a sample zoning ordinance for solar energy. They've been working on it for almost a year. It'll be done this summer, late June, early July, and it would be a great resource to provide to the townships. They'd love to get it out to as many local units of government as possible. So that would be very timely. And then the other one is the farm market GAMPs, the generally accepted agricultural management practices. She said that one's a little tricky. They have some programming for it. Usually when you look at it, you have to look at the Michigan Right to Farm Act as well. And so she said they could do both of them in one program, depends on how much depth we want in it. So they could do 2 30 to 40-minute programs with a little 10-minute break in between, if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, they could focus on one of the topics and go into more depth with it. So I wanted to find out first if you were okay with the mileage cost, because we would enter a little agreement with her. And then do you want both topics to be covered in one session, or do you want to focus on one? And if you want to focus on one, which one do you want? And then we can work from there and figure out a date and time and everything with her to do this.
Trudy, is that something that the education committee determines or us as a whole?
We can do it either way. We haven't pulled together the education committee. And there wasn't a lot to pull together for them to discuss yet. That's why I thought maybe we just bring it to the full county planning commission. I mean, you almost have a full commission here and see what you guys think.
All right, Commissioner Lawler?
I kind of think perhaps both, because I think
Yes.
they're kind of tied together in a way. So perhaps those who are coming for either topic might be interested in the other. And if they don't think they are, they might be by the time they're done and perhaps learn something from it. So I think that's a neat concept. I'd be willing to try to do them back to back.
All right, any other comments, Mr. Black? You have any?
I'd like both. Even if there was less of either one, the two together to make a nice package.
All right, Mr. Griswold, what about you?
I agree. I think they'd be great together. And, you know, an abridged version to fit in the time, I think makes sense. And, you know, there could always be additional materials available afterwards if people wanted to know more info, so.
All right, Ms. Todd?
I think 2 is great, and I think $90 is a deal.
Yeah.
I agree with that too.
Well put, Mr. Nixon.
I would support the two. I think even when we did our survey, if you go back and look at that, the solar and GAMP were pretty much the two, and they weren't that far apart in terms of people choosing them. I think both of them would be wonderful at $90. That's a good deal.
Awesome, absolutely. Mrs. Carlson?
I'm fine with the 2 too. $90 is a deal. My only concern is with a 30-ish minute presentation. That's not much time to get in much depth. I'm not familiar with the format where we're going to be presenting it. It doesn't leave time for people to go deeper or to ask questions. So I'm wondering if we have 2 presentations, would there then be an opportunity for later follow-up for more in-depth or follow-up of questions?
We could fashion it that way so that we could, you know, the questions that are answered could be delivered to Mary or whoever the presenter will be, and they can give us the responses. We can post it on the website or email it out to everyone. Something like that. I can get some more detail, and Gail, I'll run it by you for Education Committee and hammer it out a little more. You guys want to proceed?
Sounds great.
Yeah, no, I think you got a general consensus here. It's pretty simple. I think direction to go, so, yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
Now,
Nixon.
I would remind ourselves too, and Gail, we've had sessions that have run 2 hours. And so if we structure that, there should be, I would hope there would be ample time for questions if we even ran a 2-hour limit on that evening's 2 presentations. That would give 30 minutes apiece and 30 minutes for question and answer for each one possibly.
That's what I didn't know. I thought it would just be the 30 minutes, okay, stop.
Right.
Another 30 minutes, and that would be great and probably, yeah,
We
sufficient.
have run 2-hour sessions in the past.
Yeah, well, I think with working with Judy and on that, I think we can come to a good consensus where we can do this and, you know, work with them, maybe do half hour, 45 minutes presentation, 15 minutes question and answers, and if they can't follow up with that, then obviously follow back with the questions or something. But yeah, I think, yeah, if you want to contact them and get something rolling, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll do.
Awesome. Next item on the agenda would be a support letter for grant. This was a late addition. I'll let Trudy kind of speak on that, I guess.
Yeah, just as a little background, and I just got this yesterday, by the way. So Homestretch is a nonprofit organization, and they're working with the Land Bank Authority to purchase a 2-acre property on Merrick Road. So it's, if you leave here and turn left, before you get into Suttons Bay Village, there's a dirt road on the left, Merrick Road. So you go up, there's a 2-acre piece of property. They want to put 8 rental units in there, year-round rentals, and they're really needed in the county. They are applying for some grant funds. They've already got some commitments from some different organizations, but the big part of it is a grant. And so what they are looking for is a letter of support. So it would be from the local unit of government, the county, their community development / planning / mayor's office. So they reached out to me wanting to know, could we do a letter of support? And I thought, well, that could look good coming from the planning commission, plus the housing action committee is under the planning commission. So I did not have time to draft any letter today. I was wondering if you are in agreement for some type of support letter. If you are, I would do a very general one, like listing the need, data from our target market analysis, things like that, and make it very simple as a support letter. So I know I don't have a draft for you today. I wanted to see what you thought of that. Unfortunately, they need it by June 1st, and we're running into the holiday weekend. I mean, I was shocked. I said, you need it when?
Yeah.
So I wanted to see what you thought. And it could come from this planning commission. Again, I would make it a pretty generic.
Right.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I think
Waller?
we should do it.
So it's privately owned piece of property?
No, it's in the land bank. The
Oh, it's
land
in
bank
the
has
land
this
bank.
property.
Oh, gotcha.
They
Yeah.
just approved last Tuesday an agreement with
Okay.
Homestretch to go forward with their development, try to get their financing in place.
Okay,
And then we're gonna hold the deed in escrow because we're not deeding it to them until we could see if this is going to work.
okay, good,
And
yeah.
so this grant is a big chunk of it, but now I'm being told, and this is the first step of the grant. This is not the full grant. This is the first step. They need to get enough points and support to move to the next step. And this is one of the requirements.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Anybody else have any questions regarding that support letter?
So do you want an official motion?
I do.
Hang on just a second. Mrs. Todd?
Yes, by writing this letter, are we committing ourselves? Is there any zoning issues or planning issues that we may be called upon to decide on the property?
It's in Sutton's Bay and it's already zoned so that it could be used for residential. I think they're going for the higher residential use. They've talked with the zoning administrator that said that could be done through a special use process. I believe that's the steps they're taking. That would not come back before you as a county planning commission. And you
And
would not be committing any funds or anything to this project. This is just a letter of support.
so someone else is going to make sure that they're qualifying to be reasonable rental properties and that sort of thing? That's what the
Yes.
land bank's going to do?
Homestretch will do that, and they have those set up all around the region already, so they know how to do those.
Well, I think it's a great idea then.
All right.
I've got a
Mr. Nixon?
question real.
Yeah, hang on just for a second. Mr. Nixon has his hand up.
I asked for a little guidance on this because the question is coming before our planning commission this next week. And I'm not sure whether I should vote for or against this or simply abstain, since I wouldn't want it to appear in any fashion that I have an opinion yet on this project, even though they have come before us with a preliminary discussion. But the fact that they'll be coming with a site plan and a review this next week, what would your advice be on this for my position on such a letter?
Judy, do you have any recommendations on that? Just abstaining from that, or is that going to create an issue?
Yeah, Tom, you're gonna be voting on it at your level?
Yes,
Yeah, you might wanna just abstain from it here.
okay,
All right.
that's what I thought. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, and you'd still have a quorum of the members if you abstain.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Griswold?
I like the idea of creating long-term housing, and I'm curious if there's anything within the grant or within Homestretch's policy that these stay long-term rentals for a certain amount of time. Because a similar thing just happened in Traverse City with a large development where they flipped them after a few years. They of a similar scope where they're going to be affordable rentals. They flip them all to short-term condos that can be rented short-term. So I'm just curious if there's a way to show support, but hopefully make them stay long-term rentals for a certain amount of time.
Go ahead, Trudy.
And Homestretch has proposed that these be long-term, year-round rentals for workforce housing. They'll be affordable. I can't tell you the exact length of time. I think it's at least 20 years. But as they move in the project, I can give you an update on that and tell you what that is.
Okay. I think it's a great thing.
Good point.
All right, Ms. Carlson, you have any questions, comments?
I'm just, we're supporting the notion of this going forth. Obviously, everything hasn't been hammered out. I support it.
All right, Mr. White?
I support that wholeheartedly.
All right, for you, quick question, is it a resolution or a letter of support, I guess?
It's a letter of support.
Letter of support, all right, perfect. All right, so I think, any other questions or comments? All right, if not, I'll take a motion on the table.
I move that we give the letter of support in regards to these rentals.
All right, Mr. Black moved, Mrs. Carlson seconded, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Hi.
All opposed, same sign. And we have one abstention, just make a note of that.
Thank you.
Perfect, we'll move on to reports, number one would be Education Committee. Obviously, we pretty much dealt with that at the meeting here, so we'll move on to Housing and Action Committee, Commissioner Wellner.
Housing Action Committee hasn't, I don't believe we've met since our last meeting. Well, I don't remember whether we did or not. The only thing I think of any significant development as could be said, I suppose, is that we have a 40-acre piece in Solon Township that was going to be rezoned for the for commercial or industrial business, one or the other. And there was a referendum and the voters said no, they didn't want storage units there. So that's now going to be housing. So depending on how many houses you could get in there, that's going to be some houses. It's going to, they'll be single family, I guess, I'm guessing. And also there's now been another very nearby proposed up to, he won't get 300, but up to 300 homes also off of Lautner Road, which obviously is right there on M72, so the main trunk line into Leelanau County, the west. So lots more future houses coming to Solon Township. Hopefully some of those will be affordable
Yes.
or actionable, maybe that's what our committee is.
Melinda, where exactly off M72 is it?
Better hope lumber costs come down.
Directly off, if you turn north onto Lautner, or right if you're going west, be immediately on the left.
Can't believe what I'm paying.
And then
for
there's
my turkey.
the Rixel Farm, horse farm, and then immediately north of that, over to Solon Road. So it's quite a large proposal. It'll take some time, but hopefully, as I said, some of those will be sustainable at least.
All right, any other questions for Commissioner Wellner? All right, if not, we'll move on to Parks and Recreation Committee. Mr. Noon's not here. Anybody else from Parks and Rec that can give a report?
Parks and Recreation. Parks and Rec has, the biggest thing on Parks and Recreation is we've honestly just been granted a gift from the county of $31,000, I believe, to help clean up the disc golf course up in the woods at the Miles Kimmerly Park in Casson Township. So they're cleaning up the disc golf course and the Pat Hobbins walking trail, both of which are pretty much impassable in a lot of places. We had both the 2015 storm that still have a lot of debris down, trees down, and then we did some logging up there, so there's some tops. So we have a company that's going to come in and widen out those trails and chip all the chip all that stuff and hope, I guess, leave it right behind on the trails, but it should be really nice when we get that done. So fortunately for us, because Parks and Recreation does not have a large budget for those sort of things, it was basically a gift back from some monies we did not spend as a Parks and Recreation Commission in the past few years. That's about it. We're moving forward. Parks are being mowed. Working on getting a culvert replaced at the Veronica Valley Park. We're going to be stocking the Veronica Valley ponds with fish this summer, even though the fish day has been canceled, I understand. That was going to be the end of June, but you'll still be able to take your little ones fishing there all summer. There's going to be lots of fish in those ponds. So, and kind of unrelated, but it is on our park, the Big White Miles Kimmerly barn next to the nursing home over there was awarded the Barn of the Year. Thanks to all the volunteers that have worked so hard to fix that thing up and do all the work and submit it, and it won, so we're pretty proud of that.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Lovner? All right, if not, we'll move on to item number 4 under reports. Report from those in attendance at Township or Village meetings. We'll start with Mr. Griswold.
I have not attended any meeting.
All right, Mrs. Todd?
No, I have not either.
Mr. Nixon?
Nothing to report.
All right. Ms. Carlson?
Nothing.
Nothing. Ms. Black?
Nothing.
Commissioner Lovner?
I did attend the Solon Township Board meeting last month, but I watched Steve in action, so Steve could probably speak more to it, but that was where the announcement was made of the larger development off of Loudon Road, which is the up to 300 homes, but so I think it was the main thing of the evening for that meeting.
All right, yeah, and I'll just speak briefly to that. It's 80 acres that's currently being proposed, and it's in front of the board right now because Township Board has to approve a density. Right now, our ordinance is allowing for that type of density in our township, so it's in front of the board to discuss that, to approve whether to allow more density on that amount of acreage. So it'll be on our agenda here next month as well. So we'll keep you all up to date on what happens there. So next up, we'll move on to communications. I see we have something on page 66 of our packet. Hand over to Trudy for.
Yeah, just a quick update for you. I like to send these out just so you know they're coming. So Longwood Township is updating their plan. They have to notify us, and then as they get to a point where they're opening it up for public comment, we'll be able to actually review that here at a meeting and send public comment back to them. And that will be for a while though.
Is that their master plan?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Any questions for Trudy or no? Yes,
If you would grab me a moment, there's a public hearing tonight at Long Lake Township for, I believe it's 22 homes going in at the corner of Cedar Run and Tilton Road. So it'd be the northeast corner. Those houses, 1 acre houses all the way along Tilton and along Cedar Run, and this will go in behind those. I think it's 22 homes, and there's a public hearing on that tonight in Long Lake Township. I know while we bought homes in Leelanau County, those are homes that they're a mile from me. They could easily work in Leelanau County and live down off of Cedar Run Road. So more hopefully affordabler housing.
All right, so we'll move on. Next item is public comment. We'll open up for 30 seconds. Number is 231-256-8109 for any public that wishes to offer any comment right now.
While we're waiting, thank you to Gail and Jen who volunteered the tire recycling pickup here last Saturday for Trudy, of course, doing
It
all the
was
work.
last Saturday?
It was last
Hazardous
Saturday.
waste.
What was it?
Hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste. It wasn't the tire, it was hazardous waste. I'm signed up for both. I'm so glad. Yeah, I brought an old TV and 2 buckets of
I was gonna
batteries.
say, I didn't see anything on tires.
Tires are in June, and there's a couple slots left.
Tires will be this week,
Tires are June 25th.
June.
Friday.
Call Trudy, get the Friday, only $1 tire. I'll be at that one too.
Alright.
Yes, batteries.
Good, I
I'm
got
so
4.
happy.
We don't have any,
Give them away and I
we
can't-
don't have any public comments, so I'll take it over to staff comments, and let's see, Trudy, you think wants to mention something?
Okay, so well, I'll just follow up here. I just sent out a notice, we only have spots for about 450 more tires at that June 25th collection, so it's really filling up quickly. And then the next day is another hazardous waste and electronics collection. That's Saturday, June 26th. So both of those will be at Glen Lake School. So spread the word if people have items to get rid of.
So may I ask a question? If we signed up for this one and I brought batteries but forgot the old paint, can I sign up for that one and bring the old paint?
Yep, just contact us. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And STR, short-term rentals, I sent out some information for you earlier in the day that there's a bill proposed that basically is going to take away any local municipality's ability to regulate short-term rentals. They will not be considered as commercial, they'll be allowed in all residential districts, and it seems to be moving fast. So the hearing is supposed to be at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then later in the day, I got another notice that it was postponed until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I know the enterprise did contact a couple local officials, and they also contacted me, so I know they're doing a story on this. Probably be in the paper tomorrow. And then I just had a question, Steve and Melinda, you both mentioned large developments, but I'm wondering, what are they doing for sewer? 300 units, are they going through the state for that Part 41?
They're
So,
gonna have issues there because that's coming to a head as to density with the sewer systems. How much capacity have you got? That is gonna be becoming an issue. I've been following that right along.
Steve, may.
so recently, the one in Cedar where there's a 32 unit development, that was a Part 41. I just got notified here a couple weeks ago that they did get approval on that, but that was like almost a 2-year process to get that.
Yeah, I
So,
was gonna say,
but the main reason for that was because, with the swamp there, they couldn't get a well in with the septic close enough. Where the 80 acres is, there's a lot, it's in a very rural farm field and stuff like that. So I don't know the full details on how I will be proposing to do that.
They're gonna have to do state variance.
Well, I think the 80 acres might adjoin another 200 acres he already had. So
Right.
it's a much bigger piece than the 80 acres.
Yeah, it's over 200 acres that he owns there.
I'm wondering
So
how
I
he's gonna
would
do it.
guess it's proposed individual systems, I'm going to guess.
okay, that Part 41 really takes a long time. That's something we'll talk about Housing Action Committee, and told Housing North that somebody needs to work with the state to make that process quicker. Because that just drives cost up, and you have to do engineered reports, and I mean, you spend thousands of dollars to get that. So why do people want to do that with higher density instead of just splitting it off and putting your own septic and well on every lot, and then you use up more land?
And punching more holes in the aquifer,
Yeah.
so it doesn't make a lot of sense. They should be
Right.
making it an easier process than a harder.
The number of feet from the well to the septic is the issue. The state requires FHA wants 75 feet. In Muskegon County, it was 50 foot. And we were in violation on every house,
I
we
thought
had
we
to
were
get
50
the
feet.
variance.
I thought Leelanau was 50 feet. I'm not
I'm
sure.
not
Now that the
I would
state
swear.
FHA is requiring 75.
Oh, FHA. Oh, yeah, and I don't
And a
know.
lot of homes are going FHA.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, there'll be more details coming on that, and solar as to how that'll be done and everything, but he has quite a few acres there that he can play with, so.
Okay.
So, yeah. We'll move on to commissioner comments, Ms. Carlson.
Nothing to report,
Nothing.
nothing to comment.
All right, Mr. Black.
Nothing yet, except I'm still one of those proponents of short-term rentals, and I'm really anxiously waiting to hear what Elmwood's gonna do. I hope that they just stay with regulating. I hope that's the way they go.
All right. Commissioner Wagner?
Nothing more, thank you.
All right. Mr. Nixon?
First, a thank you to Gail for helping me dispose of some old electronics this weekend. Appreciated that, Gail. And also thank you to whoever shook the wire the last time with the internet, because your reception, sound, and picture has been much the same it used to be. So whoever did that.
Gail.
That sounds like Gail again.
Gail
so-
again.
Gail gets credit.
2 stars, Gail, 2 stars.
All right, Mrs. Todd?
No, I have nothing more to add. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Griswold?
Nothing to add today.
All right, awesome. I want to thank staff for everything they did. Get the sound, obviously, the picture on the screen there, you guys are clear as well. So
Yeah.
obviously the problem got fixed, I believe. So glad to hear that. So again, I'll thank everybody for the patience to get through the meeting, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.